in a commercial or in a business or organisational context, you know, can we actually get the right level of challenge to our thinking? What enables us to stop every now and then and say, why are we doing this? Who are we doing it for? One of my favourite examples is the use of the touchstone question. And when we talk about a touchstone question, what we mean is that, you know, it's a question that enables the organisation to look at its value, to look at what it's doing and test it against its values. And so we came across the touchstone question a long time ago, 40 years or more ago, when we were doing a book on excellent companies that are high-performing companies, people that have had a history of at least 10 years of performing way above average for their sectors. And one of the companies I looked at was a company called Clark's the Shoemakers. You know, some of you may be wearing Clark's shoes. And they had survived in every other shoemaker in Britain pretty much had gone out of business. But they were thriving. How were they doing it? And so I went down to look, and I went to interview the chief executive and some of the people there. And we went to the showroom first. The showroom was beautiful. Lots of money spent on it. You could see that this was people would come in here and they would buy for their stores around the world. And then we went out of that building into a little building next door, and this is a small village in the Somerset countryside in west of England. And we went up the stairs, and they looked a bit creaky, but it's fine. And we step into a room about half the size of this one, which is the boardroom. And I stopped in the doorway with amazement because it was a total contrast. There were holes in the carpet. There was plaster falling off the walls. You know, it was clean, but the old table in the middle was scratched and battered. The chairs were obviously once very expensive chairs, but the stuffing was coming out of the chairs. And I was amazed. And the chief executive said, he said, you're noticing the contrast. Yeah. He said, you have to remember the company question. And I looked stupid and he said, but does it sell shoes? Said, yeah. When we want to spend money, he said, we have to ask ourselves the question, does it sell shoes? He says, if spending money on employee welfare, on training, on keeping our employees engaged and retaining them, that sells shoes because it gives us better products. But money on the boardroom, we've never been able to come up with an answer that would actually help us to sell shoes. He says, so does it sell shoes? No, it doesn't. We don't spend any money on the boardroom. And having those kinds of questions. I mean, just reflect for a moment. What would the touchstone question be for your company? What would the touchstone question be for your function, for what you do? I think that's quite a challenge, and it's this kind of supportive challenge, helping people. Let's get back to the basics. What are we here for?